Welcome back, grade 12s. In this video, I'm going to be simplifying a trig expression from a previous question paper. And as you can see, this question was worth 7 marks, right? So this is one of the questions you would consider to be the hot ones. So first of all, you just need to start by constructing your cast diagram, right? I've discussed a lot on this cast diagram and what you need to know, as well as the special angles that you can just know from two triangles, right? So the question that we were given was cos 300 times sine 140 all over sine negative 160 times tan 405 times sine 290. All right, so first of all, as I already said, you need to construct your cast diagram and your two triangles, right? These triangles will help you because they consist the special angles, right? Remember, I've done a video showing you how they can just find out whether you use the calculator or not, and how these two triangles can literally, save you throughout trig, So in the second triangle, you just need to have 45, 45, two 45-degree angles and two sides that are 1 unit long, and then the hypotenuse would have to be root 2 units. All right, so let's jump right into it. The reason why I said, okay, you'll see why I said this one is hot and the reason why it is 7 marks. Right, so we were given 300, right? So how did we obtain 300? Well, it was easy. We said 360 minus 60 degrees, right? And we multiply that, we had to multiply that by sine 180 minus 40. Why did you say 180 minus 40? Well, simply because that is what was going to give us 140. And also cos 360 minus 60 is the same as saying cos 300. Okay, cool. So moving on to the denominator now. As I already mentioned, that when you're given a negative angle inside the bracket, you just need to add 360, right? Okay, cool. Sorry about that. I was just trying to put a straight line there. Okay, so now let me just try to shift this. All right, sorry about that. I'm trying to shift it towards the middle, right? Because I'm doing that for space. All right. In the bracket there was a negative sign. Let me just highlight that. Okay, so there's a negative sign in the brackets. Okay, sorry for that. Just trying to put negative. Okay, cool. So as I was saying, we are now moving to the denominator, right? And we have sine. You need to add 360 because you have a negative angle in there. And now you will know which quadrant you are focusing on, right? It will be in the fourth quadrant, right? And then we move on where we have tan 405. We need to find out what was added to 360 to get 405, right? And we will realize that for us to get 305, for us to get 405, right? For us to get 405, we had to add 45 to 360, like that. And then we multiply that by sine 360 minus 70, because 360 minus 70 is what gives us 290. Okay, so moving on, we need to use the reduction formulas now, right? From the cast diagram, we use the cast diagram to understand that. Okay, so we're just going to have cos 360 minus 60, right? And we need to find out which quadrant is that negative. Which quadrant do we have cos 360 minus 60? You realize that it is in the fourth quadrant, and in that quadrant cos is positive, boys and girls. So it's just going to be cos 60, and we have to multiply that with the sine 180 minus 40, and we need to find that we need to reduce that, right? So we look into the second quadrant and we see that sine is also positive, therefore it is just going to be sine 40. Okay, because it is in the second quadrant where we have sine as positive and where we also have 180 minus theta. Okay, so cool. Moving on to the denominator now. All right, sorry about that. Okay, so in the denominator we have sine 360 minus 160. So where do we have 360 minus 160? It is in the fourth quadrant, and what is happening in the fourth quadrant? Only cos is positive. So if you have sine 360 minus an angle, that means that it has to change to become minus sine times that angle. In this case, our angle is 160, and then we multiply that by 1045. Why? Because everything is positive in the first quadrant wherever you're saying 360 plus an angle, so it will just be 1045. And then we have minus sine 70. Why? Because in the fourth quadrant, only 10 is positive. How do we know that it is in the fourth quadrant? We know that by 360 minus 70. All right, cool. Now, we can just use the special angles, right, to simplify what we have at this point. And cos 60, we will look at our triangle that has the 60-degree angle, right, and it will be adjacent over hypotenuse, which is 1/2 times cos 40, sorry, sine 40. But we don't have anything, we can't do much with the sine 40 except to just rewrite it and leave it and see what we have in the denominator, because in some cases it cancels, in some cases it doesn't. You need to find an alternative way of simplifying. Okay, so also here we have minus sine and minus, so we have minus sine 160 and minus sine 70. When you multiply them, because we are multiplying everything in the denominator, that means the signs will cancel and everything will be positive. All right, okay, cool. So now we have sine 160, but what did we do to get 160? We said 180 minus, right, 180, right? So we just said 180 minus 40, right? Sorry, 180 minus 20, my bad. So we just said 180. Okay, so 180 minus 180 minus 20. Or rather, you can just say 90 plus. Okay, so now you're working yourself upwards. It would make sense now why we're going for the 90 is because we have sine 70, right? In the denominator, we also have sine 70. So we cannot go upwards with the 180, right? So it will be sine 90 plus 70 times 1045. But we know that 1045 is what? Is 1. Why? Because opposite will be 1 and the adjacent will be 1. So we won't write it. Okay, cool. And then we have sine 70 over there. We're just going to rewrite that as sine 70. Okay, so now let us go back on the numerator and rewrite everything. Okay, so over here we have sine 40 divided by 2 because we've multiplied them together, right? Okay, so let me just put the division sign here. I want to put it like this, in a straight line. Okay, cool. Like that. Okay, so we are going to, in the denominator, we have sine 90 plus 70. Sine 90 plus 70 is a core function, right? So we need to find the core function of it. Why? Because we have 90, right? So sine plus theta is in the second quadrant. 90 plus theta is in the second quadrant. So we just need to find the core function for sine, which is going to be cos 70. And we have sine 70 as it is. Okay. If you know what to do, by this stage, this is what makes the question kind of difficult. Maybe not difficult, a bit tricky, right? Because you need to work with what you already know from the compound angles or double angles, I should say. All right, so now what we're going to have here is sine 40. Sorry about that. Okay, so check this out. When we have a double angle for sine, usually it is sine. When we have sine 2a, right, the double angle or the expanded identity of it will be 2 sine a times cos a, right? Now, when you multiply that by a half, right? When you multiply that by a half, what is 2 times 1 over 2? It's 1, isn't it? Sorry about that. 2 times 1 over 2 is 1. Okay, so that's what we are going to use over here. Okay, so let me just erase this and rewrite it properly. So it will be equal to sine a times cos a. Easy peasy. You see, so that is what we are going to use in the denominator because we have cos 70 and sine 70, right? Somehow we can make a double angle out of that. Okay, so let's continue. So on the top, I'm just going to write sine 40, right? Divide by 2 because we can't do much, we can't do much at this point with the numerator, right? We need the denominator. So in the denominator, I'm going to say 1 over 2 times, let me try to put a proper line like that. Okay, cool. So as I was saying, in the denominator now, we need to have 1 over 2, right, times 2. Now in the brackets, we're going to have sine, or cos. Since we're starting with cos, I'm going to put cos 70, right, times sine 70, right? Guys, when you multiply this bracket with 1 over 2, it just gives you cos 70 times sine 70, right? And what we know about what we have now, the 2 cos 70 times sine 70, we know that it is a double angle for sine. Therefore, that just means that we are saying sine 140 because 70 plus 70 is 140. Okay, so now I'm going to erase that entire brackets. Okay, but I'm going to erase the entire bracket, but I will have to leave the 1 over 2 there. Okay, so let me just say sine, sorry about that, I need to put the 1 over 2, right, because it doesn't disappear. So it will be 1 over 2 times sine 140, like that. Okay, so let me just delete this line here. Okay, better. Okay, so moving on now, we can just, so to remove a denominator, when you're dividing when you're dividing fractions, right, you can remove them by using the multiplication. But what you do with the denominator fraction is that you invert it. So the top just goes on the bottom, and the denominator of that fraction will be the numerator, right, like this. Let me show you. So here we're going to say sine 40 divided by 2 times now 1 over, right, 1 over 2 sine 140 times sine 140. Okay, sorry. Okay, so I'm just going to say sine 140 divided by 2. Okay, sine 140, divide that by 2. Okay, like that. So now we can simplify this. Okay, now sine 140 times 1 will just be sine 140. And then now we have 2 sine 140 divided by 2. Okay, let me just erase. Okay, now you will see that the 2's will cancel because we're still dividing that by 2. Right, let me just rewrite this properly. 2 times sine 140, and then we're dividing that by 2. Okay, so now we're going to have sine 140 divide by, we're going to have sine 40 divide by sine 140. Why did we get that? Because the 2's cancelled out. All right, so now we have sine 40 over sine 140. Let me just shift this for space. Sorry about that. Okay, so now what we're going to have now is just sine Okay, let me rewrite this. Sine 140. Okay, divide that by 1. Okay, so now you see that we have 140. Now we just need to find out what was added, or subtracted from what, for us to get 140, right? So you can say 80 minus 40, 180, sorry, 180 minus 40 will give you 140. But then you don't need, you can actually use that, right? That's what we are going to use, not the 91, right? So because 90 plus, okay, so 90 plus 40 will give you 50, and we don't have 50 in the numerator, so we are going to use 180 minus 40, because that is what gives us 140. Therefore, now we have sine 140 degrees, dividing that by, now we just need to find which quadrant is 180 minus theta, right? 180 minus theta, it is in the second quadrant, because that is where sine is positive. See there, 180 minus theta. Okay, let me write that properly. 180 minus theta, it is in the second quadrant where sine is positive. Therefore, the denominator reduces and becomes sine 40 degrees, right? So so now we can see that the numerator and the denominator are the same thing. That means that our answer is just going to be 1. So basically what this means is that they gave us 7 marks just for us to find out that the answer is 1. It's kind of funny, but it's worth it because we know our work, right? We're doing it now. We're literally just doing it for the humor. After all that, struggling only to find out that our answer is actually just going to be 1. It's not anything big, or anyways, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to share, like, comment, and subscribe if you learned something from this video, or if you wish that we can improve on something that I am not doing well. Please feel free to reach out to me using my WhatsApp link in my description, or on my IG. The link is also in my description. Until we meet again in the next video. Cheers.